By Connie Moody, December of 1995, for Tally, Tanya, and Gonda. Merry Christmas. This is and Tally and Connie standing at the bottom of the airplane steps. Here's Granddaddy Edwards getting on to the airplane. This is Gonda and France at a cafe looking into a window. And this is Gonda on the streets of France looking very foxy. Here is Gonda and Tally sitting on the airplane. Look at those glasses. And here's Connie sitting in her seat on the airplane. This is the Eiffel Tower in Paris, France. And the family went there and the Eiffel Tower was closed that day, but we did get a picture of it. This is Gonda and Connie looking over a bridge. Here's a close-up. Wasn't I cute? This is Granddaddy Edwards and Tally and Connie, the same bridge. And here's Tally and Connie, back when Tally was taller than me, way back. This is the Arc de Triomphe. This is a picture of Athens, Greece, I believe. Here is a beautiful cathedral. I'm not sure where this is. This is Gonda having her picture drawn by a street corner artist. And here's Gonda again, and he's almost finished with the drawing. Here's another picture of the Arc de Triomphe and a different view of the same arc. And here's Gonda and Tally and Connie as they get ready to board the plane. And here's the Edwards family together. And I think this is maybe Switzerland. And this is the stadium in Greece. And here's another building in Greece. I'm not sure what it is. And there is Tally. This is in Switzerland. And she's looking over a balcony. And she was cute. And here is Gonda in the Greek ruins. We keep switching countries here. And here's Gonda again in front of one of the Greek ruins. And here's Miss Thing, looking sexy as ever, in a hotel room in Switzerland. Here is Tally, looking through her binoculars on the balcony of the hotel room in Switzerland. This is Hotel Hertenstein. And here's Connie on a boat. And this is still in Switzerland. And here's Tally and Connie getting off of the boat. Still in Switzerland. Look at that face. And here I am again, looking a lot like Miss Carmen. Here we are getting off of the same boat. I guess we were walking backwards. And here are the three Edwards girls on the same balcony. There's Tanya looking so much like Tara. And now we have Gonda watching us on the boat. And here we have Granddaddy Edwards and an outdoor cafe. Now we are in Iran, and here is a camel and little boy. This is near the main street in Tehran. It's another picture of the herd of camels, and you can see the main street with the trees at the top of the hill. And here we are, me and Tally and Gonda. Here's Tally and Granddaddy Edwards, and I think that Granddaddy Edwards is trying to talk to them about how much it would cost for Tally to ride a camel. There they are. And it must not have cost. And here she is up on the camel. And I remember being there and being too scared to get on the camel, as you can tell by the look on my face. This is the .4 car that used to come and pick up Dad every morning for work. There's a good view of the mountains in the background and the tree-lined street to your left. There's a man on the side of the road selling whatever. You'd see that a lot over there. It's one of the small streets. This is a house that we used to go to with Mom, and I think the lady that lived there used to sew, and you'd make Tally and I dresses alike. Just some of the adobe houses you would find. Another merchant who's selling, it looks like salt. Here's Granddaddy Edwards outside in our yard, tending to his garden. And here's Tally and I riding a donkey in our driveway. These are peddlers who are trying to sell us things in our car. Here are some workers that Mom and Dad have hired, and it looks like they're working very hard. Must be nap time. And this is a camping trip that we went on with Idris and Ian, and me and Tally and Mom. I remember that red and white thermos. This is Granddaddy Edwards again, trying to work out some other kind of arrangement with the camel owners. And here's Gonda and Miss Tanya, looking just as cute as she wants to. And this is on Kuchi Koksad, which is right outside of our front gate. And this is Reza, who's our houseboy, and he's washing that rug. And I think that rug is now in Tally's bedroom. And here we are in the process of helping to build our swimming pool. And here's another view of us building the swimming pool. Miss Nargis, who was our maid. She was also a thief. That's another story. And here we have the finished product. And this was a group of people having dinner on our front porch. And here's a lady carrying, it looks like milk or cream on her head, probably on the way to the market. And another view of the same lady. And it looks like her boyfriend is with her this time. And here's Granddaddy Edwards holding court as usual. And this was the .4 car driver. Look at that view. And here's the family. This was on the roof of our house, and there are nights when we used to sleep up there under the stars. Here's Miss Tanya, her cute self. And here are the workers again, still working very hard. This is the Bahamas in 1950s. I'm not sure exactly what year, maybe 1953. This is Granddaddy Edwards, surrounded by banana trees. This is Tally and Connie and cousin somebody outside of somebody's house. I'm not sure whose house. That's not Aunt Nellie's house, though. And this is Connie and Tally in the front, and same cousin, and I'm not sure, maybe that's Aunt Nellie or one of the relatives holding me. This is a picture of the marketplace. Here is a sinking ship. This is a sailboat. This is a shot of the island of Eleuthera from the airplane. This is Aunt Nellie's house on the island of Eleuthera. This is Aunt Nellie and Uncle Harry. And this is Gonda hanging up clothes. And here's Granddaddy Edwards, surrounded by banana trees once again. This is Granddaddy Edwards on a horse. This is our cousin, whose name I have no idea what it is. Here are some other relatives. I'm sure these are family members too. I think this is Aunt Eulita. Aunt Eulita and her son. Here is our cousin and his family. I think he's the one that runs the grocery store. And this is Granddaddy Edwards. Look at those legs. And this is Tally and Connie, sitting by the ocean. Here is the fire department. This is the airport at Eleuthera. It's another shot of the airport. This is Granddaddy Edwards in a boat. But that doesn't look like Eleuthera. Maybe that's Alaska. Long slide. We're back in Eleuthera. Here's cousin what's-her-name and his wife. This looks like Aunt Edwina Burroughs' restaurant. And that must be her husband. This is the backyard in Media, Pennsylvania. Backyard of Mama and Pop-Pop's house. And we have, looks like Connie and maybe Teresa Waters. And here's Gonda sitting on Mama's front porch. And this is Connie at the School of Rose Valley. Must have been about 3. This is Mama's backyard. That was the neighbor Walker, and that was Pop-Pop. And this is Mama's backyard again. Looks like a birthday party of some sort. There's Tally in the glasses, and Mom and Grandmom Thomas. There's another shot of Tally in the backyard. This is Grandmom Thomas and Walker. This is the School of Rose Valley, and that's Gonda in front of the building. And this is Tally at a birthday party. This is a classic. This is Uncle Jimmy Harris, Gonda, Uncle Stanley, Mama and Pop-Pop, and Aunt Dot Moat. This is Tally and I looking into a fountain. And here's Gonda with her foxy self. Let's get a close-up. There she is. And here's Granddaddy Edwards washing the car. Looks like Uncle Stanley's helping him. And here we are with Grandmom Thomas pushing us in the swing. These are some of Mom's neighbors. And this is Tally, Connie, and Aunt Ellie. And here's Tally and Connie helping Pop-Pop in the yard. And here we are again, working hard. And here we are swinging again. And here's Pop-Pop, Mama, Uncle Stanley, Gonda, Jimmy Harris, and Aunt Dot Moat. And there's Tally working in the backyard. And this is Grandmom Thomas. And that's Julia Waters, and me, and Johnny, and Teresa, and Sharon, and Billy Hunley. And here's Granddaddy Edwards and Aunt Yulita from the Bahamas. And here's Uncle Johnny and Aunt Yulita. And here's Aunt Yulita. And Grandmom Thomas looking like she's getting ready to fuss or say something smart. And here's Uncle Johnny and Murtis and Yulita. I think one of them, Murtis, had a finger missing. I remember that. And here we are again with Grandmom Thomas in the backyard. And here's Grandmom Thomas. This picture's kind of blurry, but she looks like she was smiling. And here's Mama and Pop-Pop in front of their house. And here's Granddaddy Edwards and the hat that he wore everywhere. And here's Granddaddy Edwards and his famous pose. Here's Granddaddy Edwards with Mama and Pop-Pop. Here's Mama and Pop-Pop with Gary William Jackson. Here's another picture of Mama and Pop-Pop and Gary. And here's a picture of Tanya hugging Granddaddy Edwards and Tally looking on. Here is Tanya and Granddaddy Edwards and Tally. This is supposed to go in chronological order, but this is the way the slides were, so I'm just showing them like this. This is Chicago in 1963. And here's Miss Thang, movie star. And here we are playing dress up. And here I am with my big beaver teeth. And here's Miss Tally. And Miss Thang again. And here we all are with Mom. Here we are again with Gonda. And me and Tally. And the movie star. And a beaver teeth movie star. And there I am again, posing. And there's Tally in her time of innocence. And there's Tanya in her time of innocence. Back when she was known fondly as Burpskin. And there's Tanya. And these were kind of blurry, but I had to get them anyway. This is Tanya, and it looks like Rule Warkoff. And here we are in the big yard with Uncle Mark. And here's Gonda standing on a slide. And here's Granddaddy Edwards back in his garden. And there I am again, all dressed up and nowhere to go. And there's Tanya, all dressed up. And here I am again, in my basic black. Another shot of the same dress. And there's Miss Tanya, looking cutie. Miss Cutie Pie. And there's another shot of Miss T. Here I am in a wedding dress. I always wanted to get married until I did. And there's Uncle Mark. And the three of us in the big yard. And there we are along with Pierrette Poinsett. And there's Yvonne. Yvonne Keys. And Yvonne Wright. And there's Miss Tally. That was on Easter Sunday. And here we are in the big yard with Granddaddy Edwards. And here we are again in the big yard with Uncle Mark. And there we are, Uncle Mark and Tanya and the princess and the tomboy. This is Tanya and I, and we were in a park called Deer Forest, I think that was the name of it, in Michigan. And this is Camp Bridgman in Bridgman, Michigan, and this is Aunt Jenny Jordan, sorry. And here I am on the steps on the way down to the beach. So this is Bob Brown on the beach. And here was Gonda, looking as sexy as she can. Beautiful picture. Here's another one of Gonda. It was kind of blurry. And here she is again. And here was the teenage camp group. And here's another picture of the teenage camp group. And I think that's Odell. I'm not mistaken. Odell Owens. I think that's the teenage group again. I think that has to be Odell, because we were the only blacks of the whole camp. So that narrows it down. There he is, and there's Tally. Here's another picture of that group. And this is Claire Burkoffer. And there I am. And there's Gonda. I think she still has that sweater, too, if I'm not mistaken. And there's Granddaddy Edwards. Mom talking to Mariana Kempnick. Don't ask me how I remember these names. And there's Granddaddy Edwards and his letter from Lincoln University. And there's Miss Tanya. She used to lose that hat. There she is again. Same hat. This is me, Tally, and Tanny, and I think that was the couple that lived there on the grounds at Camp Bridgman. In 1967, this is a blockhead game. This is Ron Watson and William White. Here is Tally and our bird Peppy, who is whispering in her ear. And this is a beautiful picture of Ganda in the backyard. Tanya and Diane Poncell. Wonder whatever happened to her. This is Bob Brown and his two children, Liz and Neil. This is Ganda and her old friend, Bill Carrington. This is Harriet Mack, who lived across the street from us. And her husband is the director of Urban League in Los Angeles now. Here is Curtis Jones and his daughter, who is probably married with children by now. This is Ganda and Martha Redhead and Bill Redhead and Sally Grouse. This is Curtis Jones and Uncle Wallace. This is Agnes White, who came and cooked meals for us while we had a week-long family reunion. This is Mrs. White's children, William, Sarah, Debbie, Wendell, and Michael. This is Janet DeGrazia, who came from Chicago and spent the week with us. This is at a block party that we had where we painted the street. That's Martha Curtis. And I'm not sure who else. Lou Terry, Tanya and the Stripes. And here's Tally outside in the backyard. With that big afro. This is the girls camping out in a tent. That's Kathy Early, Martha Curtis, Janet DeGrazia, me, Tanya, and our dog, BB. And here we are playing a game of spoons. And Gary Dobson is making Tally bite into a raw potato washed in soap with hot sauce on it. And that's me with ashes on my face. There's another picture of Yvonne. And there's a picture of Ganda. Boy, she's gorgeous. There's a picture of Tally with Peppy on her shoulder. This is Uncle Doug Wright and his wife at the block party. And there's me and Tanya and Janet and Cassie Redhead. And there I am. I guess I was about 12, 13 when that picture was taken. And there's me with Peppy on my finger. And this is Mrs. Hopkins. She used to walk her cat on a leash until Tanya found her cat. But that's a whole nother story. Ask Tanya about that. And here we are sitting in the living room. Tanya doesn't look very interested. This is Dahlia Terry, who lived on the corner. Anthony's mother. We used to have to go over to her house when we were sick. And this is Aunt Sally. She used to make rice with ketchup on it. This is Tally and her first love, Michael Johnson. It's another picture of Uncle Bob on our front porch. And here we are standing outside of the tent. And this is Easter Sunday, I think, with Mr. Kendall, Bessie Redhead, Tanya, and me. Look at Dr. Edwards. And here's Mum. And there's Papa. And there's Tanya, knee-deep in snow with Puppy and Oreo, the dog next door, who we thought was a boy until he had puppies. And there's Tanya playing a nice game of solitaire. I remember that round deck of cards. And this was Cousin Tony, who didn't like to be awakened, as you can tell by the expression on her face. This is me, Ron, Puppy, Toby, and Tony White. Tony White died last November of '94. He danced with Michael Jackson in Thriller and Beat It. And there's my first love, Ron Watson, cooking something in the kitchen or making his plate. There's Tanya out in the snow again. This is Gonda and Gary Dobson. Gary is killed. And here's Tally in her dental hygienist uniform. Go girl. And this is Gonda, who just came back from a party and looked like she had a little too much to drink. She had a sinus headache. And here's Tally in the kitchen on the phone with a mouthful of food. Look at those legs. Here we are opening Christmas gifts. This is a guy, Hezekiah Samuel Bibbs. I was madly in love with him, and he took me to his senior prom. And here we are again. I was in the 10th grade at the time. And look, more pictures of Iran. Back in Iran again. Here's Granddaddy Edwards. Here's Granddaddy Edwards with me on the couch. I had just had surgery. And we're back in Iran again. There's Tanya and Mr. Mascata. And there's Tally and her dog Powder. Look at those saddle shoes. And here I am. We had a hat party. Everybody had to make funny hats. And there's Miss Tanya. That's one of my favorites. Back in Iran again. Don't you love the way these slides are in order? I tried. This is me and Crystal from next door. And there I am getting ready for my 9th grade prom. And there's my date, Michael Shaw. He was so cool. That was my best friend, Rhonda Carpenter, and her date, Keith Cobb. This was me before. That was the before picture. I guess I should have come before my one dressed up. And here's Tanya and Kim Dobson. And there's Gonda. And there's Tanya and Terry, who had come over to do my makeup. Terry passed away also. She was a dance teacher. And there's my best friend Rhonda, who's now married and has 3 children. There's me and Rhonda. This is in Bermuda. This is Tanya and Lisette playing in the ocean. This is Tanya and Lisette and Mom on a boat. And there's Gonda in her bathing suit. Go girl. And this is Paula Mae Riley, who lived next door to Aunt Connie in Bermuda. And there's me and Tanya and Lisette. And there's Tanya and Lisette and Aunt Connie on the beach. And this is a cricket game which was big on the islands. And there I am getting onto a boat. And there's Mom's good friend Connie Can. There's me and Paula and Donna getting ready for the cup match. There's another picture of Paula. There's Aunt Connie and her daughter Lisette. And there's Tanya and Lisette. Tanya's smiling because she ate Lisette's bowl of cereal. You have to ask Tanya about that story. There's Paula Mae and her brother Steve, who Tanya had a big crush on. This is the Michigan State Fair, and this is Smokey Robinson in concert. There are the Miracles. There's another shot. This is another picture of a scary gorilla, I think, was in that. That's the one that Tanya came running out of. You have to ask Tanya about that story, too. There's Stephanie, Uncle Jarrett, Tally, and Tanya. Uncle Jarrett passed on recently, too. And here we are at Yolanda's wedding in Chicago. And here's Gonda in the wedding cake. And here we are at the hotel. And there's the bride and groom. And this is Beck and Flint at my 2nd birthday. These slides aren't in order either. And this is Flint, and here's Tally all dressed up. Oh, that's cute. And here's Tally and Mike Rennick. I was looking all over for these slides. Tally blowing out her candles. And Tally's birthday party. The bottom left, that's Christine, Aunt Ruth's daughter. And there's Tally and her friend playing dress-ups. And there's Tally and I. And there's Gonda. Looks like they're playing Ring Around the Rosie or something. Another shot of the party. That's Aunt Juanita. There's Tally again. There's another picture of Ring Around the Rosie, and that's Wanda Patrick. And there's my 2nd birthday party again. I don't know who that little girl is. And there's Mom and Dad. And there's Mr. Plummer. I remembered his name. And there I am eating my ice cream. And there's Dad eating his ice cream. And there's Mom. And me and Tally. I remember that skirt of Mom's, too. And there I am pushing my new baby carriage. Tally and Gonda and others. This is Mom and Uncle Leonard, but I'm not sure when this was. Uncle Leonard was Dad's brother. And here's another picture of Gonda. Here's Ron Watson and Papa and Flint. This is Gandhi's cat, Kitty, who used to chase the mailman. Here's me, Tanya, and Ron. I think we were at Cedar Point. And here's Tanya and Wendell. And here's Tanya outside of Summertown Day Camp. This is our dog, Puppy, who is exactly like my dog, Molly. Here's Tanya working on a puzzle, and Debbie White. Here's Mom, Mrs. White, and Mrs. Johnson. One day Mrs. Johnson came over with her teeth in, and we didn't know who she was. Here's Terry Simpson, Bob Brown, and one of Mr. Lemuel's sons putting a puzzle together. And there's Mrs. White reading a story to Miles. There's Tanya and Carlos. And there's Danny Forer reading a story to Miles when he was about a year old. And there's Carlos and Debbie White. And there's Papa and Tanya and Keith Connor, and and Wendell in the chair. I'm not sure who that is. Keith Connor is now an architect in Chicago. And there's Tally and Papa and Miles. That's a beautiful picture. There's another view. And there's Betty Allen and Miles. He used to call her Betty Island. And there's Martha Redhead. And there I am. I remember those pants too. Those were very stylish. And here's me, Mom Watson, Michael, and Junie at Deborah's wedding. I hated that dress. And here's Deborah and Alfred cutting their wedding cake. And there's Tanya on the picnic table in the backyard looking down at some puppies. There's Mom, Tanya, and Stephanie Smothers at Kersley Park. And that's Aunt Nancy and Lori Curtis. And there's Uncle Ken, who looks the same. And there's Stephanie down at Kersley Park. And there's me, Tally, and Tanya. And that's Ruth Mack. And there's Tanya. This was an Easter Sunday. And there's Uncle Ken in his Jolly Green Giant suit. And there's Miss Tanya again, sitting in the kitchen. And there's Tanya and Gary Dobson. And there's me and Tally and Jenny Jordan. And there's Tally. And there's Tanya. And there's the whole crew. And there's Miss Thang. There's Curtis and his friend. And there's Martha Curtis, who lived down the street and played the violin. And there I am, Easter Sunday. And there we are. And there's Cassie Redhead asleep in the chair. And Cassie's mother, Martha. There's Tanya asleep in the chair. And there's Uncle Bubba, Aunt Johnny, and Uncle Wallace. And here's Connie and Uncle Odell. There's Ron Watson. Here is Wendell and Grim dressed up in African outfits that Mom brought back from Senegal. And here we all are dressed up in our African outfits. I think we went to the grocery store dressed like that. And here's Gremlin looking like an African prince. And there's Mom and Gremlin in the kitchen. Look at that hair. And there's me and Gremlin. And there's Miss Tanya. And there's me and Tanya. And there's Wendell with a whip in his hand. There's me and Tanya and Miles on a tire swing in the backyard. There's Tanya and Betty Allen. And there's Gonda walking the picket line at Williams School. There's Aunt Juanita and Tally and Gremlin playing cards. And there's Tally and our dog Puppy. And there's Tally again. Look at that hair. And there's Flan and Tally and Tanya drinking wine. And there's Ron Watson. He had just gotten out of the hospital. And there's Papa. And there's me and my two dogs, Cheech and Chong. And there's Gonda. And there's Tanya and Captain Kirk from the Starship Enterprise. And there's Flan playing the piano. And there's me and Ron. And Flan drinking his cup of coffee. That's me and Shelton Penix and Emil Thomas. And there's me, Tally, and Tanya sitting next to the fireplace. And there's Tanya sitting by the fireplace and by the Christmas tree. And here's me, Tanya, and Junie Watson. And here's me in a bathing suit that Uncle Johnson made for me. That was the 8th grade. Look at that cleavage. There is William White and Wendell White and Carol and Dennis Johnson. And there's another picture of the puzzle party. And that's Tanya and her tiger, which I think she still has. And there are my puppies, Cheech and Chong. And Cheech and Chong on my balcony in my apartment on 7th Street. And there's me and Ron. I wonder if I could blackmail him in that pink bathrobe. There's me, Tally, and Tanya singing while Papa's playing the piano. And there's Uncle Ken. And there's Gonda cooking up some stuff in the kitchen. And there's Tanya and the paperboy, Timmy Sykes. And there's Gonda attempting to sing while Papa plays the piano. And there's me and Flan. Aunt Nina Jones. And there's me and Ron. And there I am. That was my very first car. That was right outside of Myers. I love that car. $500. And there's Miss Tanya. There's me and our dog Bruno. And there's me, Tally, and Tanya. And Miss Tally. And there's Tanya on Phil Carrington's shoulders decorating the Christmas tree. And there's Miss Tanya. I remember that dress. And that was the 3 of us. And there's me and Tony White from South Carolina. And there's Tanya and Kenneth Sneed. That's Lamar Edwards, who lived in Ann Arbor. There's me, Mom, and Tony. And there's Darnell Dobbs, me, Tony, Tanya, and Kenneth Sneed. Darnell Dobbs was the terror of the neighborhood. And there's Kenneth Sneed. There's Gonda by the Christmas tree. This is Christmas of 1975 in Buffalo, New York. This is Tally and Miles. This is Granddaddy Edwards. He was opening up his gift. This is Tanya and Miles, Christmas morning. This is Granddaddy Edwards and Miles. It looks like Miles is trying to escape. This is Tally and looks like her dog at Granddaddy Edwards' house. That's Granddaddy Edwards and our dog Puppy, I guess, who we brought from Flint. And there's baby Miles. And there's Gonda. She was holding a cup that matched her top, but the cup got cut off in the picture. And there's Tally and Miles with his turkey bone. There's Granddaddy Edwards holding Miles. And there I am studying for a zoology exam. And there's Tally opening up the gift. And there's Flan holding Miles. And there's Tally holding up a clock. It's Granddaddy Edwards. And there's Granddaddy Edwards admiring his clock. And there's Miles. He looks a little bit different now, but not much. Look at that behind. And there's Miles helping to decorate the Christmas tree. And there's everybody in the kitchen eating breakfast, looking down into the family room. And there's Miles in his high chair. And there's Tanya looking at a gift, and Granddaddy Edwards looking on. This is a picture of Granddaddy Edwards in his study. This is an earlier picture of him. Here's Granddaddy Edwards and Gary Jackson standing by famous Volkswagen. And there they are outside of their apartment on Guilford Lane. I remember that street. And there's Granddaddy Edwards and Tally. And there's Granddaddy Edwards looking out the window. There's Tally and one of her boyfriends. Here's me and Tanya at Niagara Falls. And there's Tanya and I having a picnic at Niagara Falls. I think that's when Tanya lost her purse. And this is Niagara Falls. And another view of Niagara Falls. Beautiful. And here's me and Tanya at the top of the observation deck of the Skyland Tower. Here is the bridge. And this is Reza Rehalzadeh. Here's a close-up picture of Reza. There's Reza and Gary William Jackson. This is another picture of Gary and Reza. This is Tanya and I getting ready to board a plane to Mexico. This is a picture of our maid who worked with us when we were staying in an apartment in Mexico. Here's Tanya and I laying on the beach. Here's a picture of a bull being dragged by a truck after the bullfight. The bull lost. And here's Uncle Jarrett, who drove all the way down to Mexico, and the guy that we met there, Jim. This is a picture of one of the cobblestone streets. Here's a picture of one of the churches out of the window, one of the cathedrals. Beautiful. This is a picture of Mark Killinger, who went to my high school, and we saw him at a bullfight down there. He had hitchhiked. This is Tanya and I's tutor. His name was Carlos, and we learned a lot from him. This is a picture of us in one of the cemeteries. In Mexico, you have to pay on your grave plot every 5 years, and if you don't, they dig you right up. And here's me and Tanya and Gonda. And this is Elizabeth Catterley. She was down there from Texas. This is Tanya and I in Mexico City. And there's Gonda at the swimming pool, surrounded by palm trees. And this was the hot springs pool that we used to go to and spend a day. Here is one of the Sunday afternoon bullfights. We used to always go and cheer for the bull. This is the library. These are two cousins who came from Pittsburgh, and the guy in the middle, I forgot his name, Cutie Pie too. This is the mariachi band, and they would follow you everywhere. They would jump out from behind trees, they were in alleys, and they would follow you around the city. This is one of the many churches. There's Miss Tanya at the beach. This is Gonda and Tanya sitting in the Jardín. The Jardín was in the middle of the town. And there I am at the same Jardín. And this is Ted, who was the policeman. And here's Tanya and I in Mexico City again. And here is me and Nick in the swimming pool at the hotel. And here's Tanya standing on the edge of a cliff. And here are the pyramids in Mexico City. And I think this was a part of the pyramids too, but I'm not exactly sure what these are. This was Gonda's tutor. Her name was Luz Maria, and she used to take Gonda shopping. And there's that damn mariachi band again. And there's one of the pyramids in Mexico City. Blurry. And there's Gonda and Tanya. Look at Tanya's miniskirt. Lord. Okay, and this was me in my bathing suit, 1971 BS, before stretch marks. No. This is me at the pool again. And this is Tanya and Jim and Dolores, who was a lady who was there from LA. This is me and Tanya's friend Rachel. And there's Tanya and Rachel by the swimming pool. And there's Tanya and Nick in the pool. And this is me at the Jardín. And there's Rachel. She was from Texas too. And there's Gonda and I at the beach. And there's Gonda in the hot tub. And here's Gonda next to a fountain. And she still has that outfit. Here is Tanya and I at the cemetery looking into a casket where a little girl had been dug up. And here's me and Mom and Jim at the beach. I'm holding up the power sign, Black Power. And here's Gonda and Jim. And there's Tanya. There's a tug of war going on at the beach. And here's the hot tub. And this was Sari, the policeman's wife. And there's Tanya swimming in the pool. And there I am sitting by the fountain. And there I am at my graduation from Xavier. That was me and Callie and Ellie and Mikey, and Ellie was holding Raven. And there's Gonda and I at the graduation. And there's Gonda hugging me. And here's me, Callie, and Tanya and Mikey at the graduation. And there's me and my big sister. And there's Tally and Uncle Jarrett reading something. This is Tally, Tanya, my mom, and cousin Joyce. And this is me and my mommy. And this is me and my roommate Tootie. And there's Ellie and Mike and Raven. And there's Carlos and Miles, who at the time of my graduation was jumping down the steps and had to get stitches in his head. And there's Mom kissing me. And here's me and Tootie's husband Crater and their little boy Atiba. And here's Mom and Ellie and Joyce and Mikey and Tally. And there's Gonda and Joyce and Ellie and Raven. And there's me and my mom. And here's Tanya wishing me luck. And there's me and Uncle Jarrett. And me and my mom. Here's Miles and Uncle Jarrett. And there's Tally and little Raven. And there's my mom holding Raven. And there's Tanya and my mom outside of the Xavier campus. And there's Tally and Raven sleeping soundly. This is Tanya's graduation, and this is a picture that was taken from the neck down. This is Tanya and Renee. Tanya and I graduated in the same year. And there is Emeka Aniagolu, who is a guy that I was dating. The son of the Supreme Court Justice in Nigeria. And there I am in my Bahamas look. And there's my mom and Raven. Raven's fussy. And there's Papa and Miles. Miles is still recuperating. After Tanya and I graduated, we spent a few weeks in the Bahamas, and this was one of our relatives in the Bahamas. And this was outside of Aunt Edwina's restaurant. Here's Tanya and Sabrina and little Pharaoh.
Yeah.
And there I am, sitting on the dock of the bay. And here I am, riding in a golf cart. And there I am, pondering the universe. And there's Tanya, looking like a bohemian fisherwoman. And here is me and my cousin Sabrina. And there's Tanya. Yeah, I forgot the little girl's name. She went everywhere with us. There's Tanya and I on the dock. And there's Tanya and Aunt Yulita. And there's Tanya and that little girl again. I told you she went everywhere with us. And this is me and Tanya and one of our other cousins. And And that was a friend of Sabrina's and Beryl. And this is the family. This is the mother and 3 daughters. This is me and a cousin who was a policeman, but the picture's kind of dark. And here's Tanya and a friend of hers. I forgot his name. I'll remember it. We met him at the airport. And there's a little girl again. And there's Tanya in our bedroom. And there's me and the cousin that's a policeman. That's a better picture of him. He was too fine. There's our cousin and his girlfriend Joyce. This is a picture of Eleuthera from the airplane. And here's me and Betty Allen back in Flint. And there's Gonda. And there I am. And there's Miss Raven with her cute self. There's Raven again. She's not too happy. The rest of these pictures are slides that were loose, and I'm just kind of showing them all. This is Gonda and Lottie Reeves and Frank Reeves. And this is Gonda. I'm not sure where she is. This was Dwayne Hill, one of my high school sweethearts. And here's a picture of Miss Tanya. And this is a picture of Bob Brown, who Miles mistook for Santa Claus. And here's a picture of Gonda. And here's another one of Gonda. This is Tanya, and it looks like Reggie. This is Tanya and Crystal at Bluebell Beach. This is Ron Watson in the hospital, and we decorated his tubes for Christmas. This is Tanya's friend, Diana Poncell. This is Mom, and I think that's her friend, Kathleen Pearson. There's Tally and Flan. And there's me and Ron. This is Phil Carrington. And there's Tally and Ron. And Tally and Flan. And here's a good one of Tanya getting out of the shower. Here's another one of Lottie Reeves and Frank Reeves, both deceased. And here's Tanya and someone, I'm not sure who that is. That's her friend, I forgot her name. And there's Ron in the backyard. And there's Tally outside of Williams School. And here's me and Gonda and Tanya back at Niagara Falls. And here I am in Niagara Falls. And there's Tanya and her infamous purse that she lost several times. And there's Gonda at Niagara Falls. And there's another one of Gonda at Niagara Falls. And there's Gonda at Bluebell Beach. And here's Crystal and Miles. And this is Gonda in Africa. And here's Gonda with one of the natives. And here's Gonda sitting at her desk. And here's Gonda again in Africa. Here's Uncle Nelson barbecuing out, family reunion 1973. And here's a volleyball game, me and Tally and Guy, and it looks like Gano. And here's Dickie and Belinda's daughter Tammy. Here's Aunt Moselle. And here's Uncle Wallace. Here's Aunt Moselle, Uncle Johnson, and Butch. And there's Tanya and Puppy, and I think Tanya's holding Tammy. This was taken at the Jazz Festival, the 12th annual Jazz Festival. Aunt Nellie. And here's Pam Owens. Here is me, Ron, Phyllis, Tanya, and Butch. There is a picture of the Gibson family reunion cake. And here's Aunt Luella with her number 7A, the wife of the 7th Gibson. And here's me, Ron, Phyllis, and Butch. And here's Gano arguing over volleyball. Here's Tanya, Uncle Johnson, and Aunt Moselle. Here's Tally, Uncle Johnny, and Miss Esther. This is a classic. This is Tally, Sammy, Guy, and Matt. And here's Gonda. Now she's had the same outfit on in several of the slides, but I won't say a word. This is Carol's son, Gary. He looks like Uncle Odell. Here's Pam and Tina. And here's Cousin Charles. And here's Alberto Marino. And here's Gonda. And here's Uncle Bubba and Ann, and I'm not sure who the other person is. There's Dickie. Here's Bonnie, Aunt Clara, and Jenny. There's Uncle Bubba, Aunt Johnny, Don, Tina, Boy, and Guy. It's a classic. And there's Cousin Bobby Owens. Here's Martha and Bill Redhead. And here's Sammy, Anthony, Pam, and me. And here we have Aunt Clara and Uncle Wallace. And here's Pam and Sammy's friend Norris. 1967. And here's Tanya in her fur coat. This is 1967 too. And here's Tanya again in her other coat. Here's Gonda and Uncle Ken. Here's Tanya kissing Mom. And here's Mom hugging Tanya. And this is taken off of the balcony in Spain, overlooking the Mediterranean. Here's another shot off of our balcony. And here's Tally sitting on the balcony. And another shot of Tally sitting on the balcony. Here is the hut where you rent boats or get cokes. This is Gonda and a lady who was traveling with our group. This is the Rock of Gibraltar. This is the man with the snake. Boa constrictor, the cobra he had. This was on the boat on the way to Morocco. This is Tanya on our balcony in Morocco. This was also taken off of the balcony in Morocco. And here we are going into the Kaz farm. And here's Charlie Gregory, Tally, me, and Tanya. And here's Gonda. And there I am with the rose in my teeth. And there I am with the camel. And here we are on the boat. And there's Miss Tanya. There's Tanya and the camel. And there's Gonda getting sand to take back with her from Morocco. And there's Gonda on the balcony of the hotel in Morocco. And there's There's Tanya on the balcony, Morocco. There's a man who lived in Spain, who we met there. And there's Tanya. That was at the hotel. And there's another view from the boat as it leaves Morocco. And there's Tally and Tanya with Yvonne and Dennis and Dion. This is in Flint. And there's Yvonne and Dennis and Dion. This is another one of Tally, Yvonne and Dennis and the babies. And there's Tanya and I were getting ready to go out. And here I am in the 8th grade, trying to look sexy. And there's Tanya and Uncle Jarrett. And there's a group of us. I think we had gone to a concert. That was Judy Warner, who lived down the street. And there's me in my gray coat. I love that coat. And there's our bird, who met a most untimely death. And there's Mom with James and Marguerite Randall. And there's Mom and Mrs. White. And there's me and the bird. And there's Gonda and Mom Watson. And there's me and Mom Watson. And there's Tanya. And that is the end of the family slides. Merry Christmas. These are old slides taken of Rollman Psychiatric Institute. Here's the picture of the parking lot at Rollman. And here's the back entrance of Rollman. This is Mary Peak and Les Shannon in admissions. Here's Mary Peak talking to Marion Dumaine. This is Les Shannon and Greg Foster posing as a patient. This is Dr. Harris. This is Dr. Harris interviewing a patient. And here's another picture of Dr. Harris interviewing Greg. That's one of the patient's rooms, and that's Mildred Nichols, social worker. And that's Mildred Nichols and Mike and Joe. And there's our patient having his blood pressure taken. And there's Deneen DeVore and Debbie Frame. There's another picture of Deneen and Debbie. And there's John Holliday and Rose posing as parents of the patient. And there they are again. Both of them are deceased now. There's the client's rights advocate and one of the students. That is Xavier's Chapel. That's Karen Rossello and Tom Hahn, and I think that's Landa Bowen. And there's Cheryl, who is giving medication to Keith Holland, who's posing as a patient, and looks very similar to one. And there's Keith taking his meds. And there's Keith being interviewed by the dietitian. And there's Greg being interviewed by the activity therapist. And this is a group therapy. There's Pat Wellert and Greg and Keith and Joe Olasoff and Marion Dumaine, Debbie Frame, and John Holliday. And there's the group again. There's Pat Wellert there and Marion. And there's a volleyball game. I'm serving. And there's another part of the volleyball game. Marion's serving. And there's some more of the volleyball game. It's Dr. Harris. This is Dr. G and Marion Dumaine and me. And there's some more of the volleyball game. And there's the activity therapist and Greg. And here's a ward meeting in which they discuss the privileges. And here's another picture of the ward meeting. And here's another view of the ward meeting. That's George. And Don. And here's my student Monica and I. We're being discharged. And there's Monica and I again. And here we are leaving the hospital. And here's the occupational therapist.